welcome in the drop zone hunting here. Really excited about this episode. I'm calling this episode Guardians of the Wild. And the reason being is I guess you can, if you're watching this one, you'll be able to see, I have in the studio with me this evening, Conservation Officer Robert Macias. Robert, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Robert is a conservation officer for the Clinton County area here in Illinois. But I did do a little bit of research, Robert, and I did basically, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, that conservation officers are kind of like state police officers. You guys can kind of work the whole state, but you might be assigned to a certain county or multiple counties depending on how busy things are. Am I correct in saying that?
That's correct. Yes. So we are state police officers. We're certified peace officers, and we have jurisdiction across the state. But we are assigned to a county. Sometimes there are multiple officers in a county. Sometimes there are, like myself in Clayton County, one single officer. We do help each other out, but we are primarily assigned to one county, and we're expected to do the compliance laws of conservation in that county. Does that make
Gotcha.
sense?
Yeah. So with that being said, how does that fall? I know within your world, you deal with a lot of different things. How does that work then? Like, how does federal things fall into that? You know, like migratory stuff, I know kind of falls federal law stuff. Do you handle that, or is that a phone call you have to make to a different agency and say, hey, this is the situation I got, you guys come in and handle this, or do you handle it and then turn it over to them?
Well, we're primarily the first contact, probably. Let's say a baiting waterfowl case. We'll get the call or the complaint, go out there, check it out, begin the investigation. If we deem that it is a baited site for waterfowl,
Sure.
then we would contact Fish and Game, Wildlife Fish and Game, U.S. Fish and Game, get them in there, and then get their take on the whole thing and kind of work together from a dual state and federal perspective and see if it is it grievous enough to get them involved, or is it something we can handle at our level.
Gotcha. So you guys will a lot of times are working pretty much hand in them situations. You're working hand in hand in them because some of it's going to fall state-wise as well as with federal. So it's kind of a combined effort in a sense.
Correct. Yeah, it's a combined effort, and we involve them as much as we can, and this is statewide. Our primary contact is out of the St. Louis office, and we all know their info, and we do contact them when we have to.
Nice. Kind of to kick things off, and we kind of start with information about you and your world, and then as the show kind of progresses towards the end, I've had people text me with questions they wanted me to ask you. I got some different kinds of scenarios and things that we'll kind of go through with you, and you can kind of help us enlighten some things that people might not know or just had questions about. But where I kind of wanted to start with is as far as you go, you know, what inspired you to become a conservation officer? And within that, you know, what is your day to day, you know, role? You know, what is your day to day? And as well, you know, what got you into this?
So what got me into the career field was I kind of took a different route than most guys and gals do. Most people who want to be conservation officers, they have dreamt about it their whole life. They are outdoorsmen and women, and they figure, hey, going down this route will keep me in that world. And for the most part, it's true. I'm not from Illinois at all originally. I'm originally from Texas.
Gotcha.
I was active duty Air Force
Okay.
for a long
Thank
time.
you for your service.
Oh, appreciate that. Thank you. And during my time in the service, I met and I fell in love with one of your beautiful Illinois gals.
Gotcha.
You know how that goes.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we actually got married in Clinton County, and
Nice.
she was still with me during my active service. And as we were beginning our family, we figured, hey, you know, we should put down roots. You know, when you're in the military, putting roots is almost impossible. You move a lot. There's lots of deployments, lots of trips. So I was gone a lot. And my wife and I decided, you know, I think Illinois, where her family's from, is probably the best bet for us. So my last duty station was in Illinois. And we decided, okay, you know, I'm going to have to separate from the Air Force, because if not, I'll be moving around a lot. And we decided to stay here. And then I started thinking, okay, well, what am I going to do with the second half of my life? And it was actually my wife who brought up, you should, maybe try out for conservation police. I had never been law enforcement. I was not law enforcement in the military. I've always been an avid outdoorsman, love hunting, fishing, camping, hiking, all that. And at the time, I think I hit it just right. They were hiring veterans specifically.
Gotcha.
So I applied and got picked up the first round. And I've been doing this, going on my 11th year now. So
11 years.
11 years, yeah.
So is it, if somebody was wanting to get into that, is it, is this a academy? Kind of what's the process of, I want to be a conservation officer. What does that entail?
Sure. So first is obviously the application period has to be open. We have to be hiring.
Gotcha.
Which we have been lately. We accept, anyone who has, I think the minimum right now is 60 credit hours of college credit. We prefer some kind of natural resource, forestry, biology, but we accept any credit. And then first the application comes in. We do a scrub of those applications. If they don't have the basic requirements, then those are weeded out. After that, if you get accepted to begin the physical fitness test, that's your basic, running, push-ups, sit-ups. One additional thing we have is the swimming portion because we work
makes sense.
we work in water a lot, so that's an additional physical fitness exam that you have to take. If you pass that, then you go to a oral panel where you sit in front of a few of us. We ask you questions, go back and forth, gain your knowledge on, can you do this job? Do you want to do this job? Why do you want to do this job? After that, it's a series of medical exams, psychological exams, a very thorough background. If you pass all those, then you get invited to come to the State Police Academy. That's a 14-week course put on by the State Police Academy.
Okay.
You got to go through that first to be a certified state police officer.
Gotcha.
After you do that, you go to our academy, for lack of better words, the DNR Academy, the Game Warden Academy, if you will, where you learn everything that we do. Pass all that, then you have a 3 to 4 month field training where you actually ride with an officer. You get checked off on a lot of things that you have to do with us. You pass all that, then you become a CPO. You get assigned equipment, you get assigned a county, and you start work.
Now, do you, within that, just like any other job, kind of like that kind of a world, can you pick areas that you would like to be in? Like if you're settling, like you said, you'd move to Clinton County. Can you say, hey, I'd like to be in Clinton County, or at least a county surrounding, relatively close to home, home? Right. Or is it like, well, you're going to be started off here, or does it just kind of matter on where you're needed?
It's the needs of the DNR. So if we have vacancies in certain counties, those are going to be the first ones offered to that class. On top of that, if we have any movement within the current batch of CPOs, people get promoted, people retire, then other counties open up. And so it all depends on what's open at the time that you apply. And that is, it's changing. When I went through 11 years ago, I believe they offered a lot of northern counties. I was in Cook County my first 3 years. So I didn't come down here until about 6 years into my career. So it all depends on when, what's going on at the time.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I think that makes sense with, friends and stuff that I know that have people in, the state police and different things. They may, like you said, they may start out in a county somewhere and just have to grind it out and try to work, like you said, people retire and try to work their way back to where they want to call home if it's possible.
Right. So we take into account maybe where they want to go, but at the end of the day, it's wherever the open counties are and where we need those bodies. The good news is there is constant movement with hiring of new classes. Like I said before, retiring officers getting promoted to, command staff position. That causes an opening in this county, and then that guy takes this county, that opens up so it's this ever evolving opening of counties.
Sure.
And like I said before, some counties have multiple officers, so you can have 2 or 3 spots in one. So It all
Does that
depends.
depend on county size?
It does.
Yeah.
It goes by the per capita of
Um,
the county. I'll give you an example. St. Clair County, right next to mine, is, I think it's a 3-man county right now, as opposed to Clinton, one guy. So
that's a little bit. I would think your more rural counties would just because of the more people, more access to hunt, land wise versus counties with more, I didn't realize it was like that.
it's more, also, I guess, more activity of what's
Um,
going on in the county. Does it have a lake? Does it have
um,
several rivers? Is it a big outfitting county? It all depends.
Gotcha.
So I don't know the exact formula
Sure.
used, but that they take all that into account.
So we go through the process. We get hired. We get our county. This is kind of where I'm going to work. Wake up in the morning, get ready. What's my day? A typical day.
A
I know
typical day.
things different times of the year could be different. Hunting season's probably
Right.
a lot busier than, I know fishing is still fishing, don't get me wrong, but hunting season's probably more people out all over the place. So how does your world work?
Sure. So it all depends on what season, what's going on, and then what happens mostly in my county. And I can only give you examples of the counties I've been in. I'm going to give you Clinton. Obviously, isn't that the biggest man-made lake in
Yeah.
the state?
Carlisle
So
Lake. Yeah.
that's all my water right there.
Right.
So if you can imagine myself from right about now till the start of the hunting season, if I'm not on the lake, I'm around the lake. There are boat ramps, commercial fishing, recreational fishing. There's recreation use of the water, camping in all kinds of spots. There's, just a little bit of everything. So that's what I concentrate on during those months. During the hunting season, I also do Carlisle Lake because there's lots of public land.
Right.
But then Clinton County is primarily privately owned land. So I'm out there hitting the woods, hitting the roads, looking for people. There's also some trapping. So to answer your question, it all depends on what's going on. And I haven't even mentioned the river that I patrol as well. So
Kaskaskia.
yeah.
Yes.
So it all depends seasonally. When I was up in Chicago, there was a lot. Snowmobile was a big thing up there. Ice fishing was a very important thing up there. So I did a lot of that. Don't do a lot of that down here. Just not a lot of snowmobiling or ice fishing.
Right.
So it all depends on what's going on during the season and where you're at in the state.
Gotcha. Interesting. What would you say, as of, today, what are some common challenges that you face in what you do, and kind of how do you overcome them in your world?
So probably the challenges that I face is just, I always think about this is, what am I missing?
Yeah.
If you can imagine a typical day, let's say at Carlisle, I'm sure there's multiple violations, some big, some small. I can't see them all.
Yeah.
I can't. I try and drive around as much as I can. I try and be around. I have to balance personal life and work life. I can't be there all the time. So that's one of the challenges, is being one guy in one county and having a big body of water and just all those people going there. And we haven't even hit the peak yet. I kind of rely on the public, actually, and the Corps of Engineers who work that lake to help me out with things they see, things they hear, intel they can give me on violations. So that's probably my biggest challenge.
Do you? That's interesting, because how do you? How do you set a schedule then? Like, as far as like, shifts, and how does that work? Like 8 to 4:30 kind of guy. Or how does it work with that, even within the seasons? How do you, a lot of, if we want to talk about that, you think, poaching is things that are happening at night,
Sure.
as a norm, so is it just, well, phone rings, hey, I think there's somebody out here shining in this field. You get suited up. You got to, kind of like a EMT per se, you get a call, you go out and investigate,
Yeah.
type of thing.
That's part of it. Absolutely. I get a phone call. This phone is a public phone. Anyone can call me at any time, text me, call me. I get the call, I'm going. And that's a very good example. It happens a lot during the rut of
Yeah.
the hunting season. A lot of night hunters out there. Um, to answer your question is I kind of work whenever I want. As long as I let my boss know, he believes that I know my county better than anyone. I know when people are out there doing, violations and causing issues. So I don't have a set schedule,
Gotcha.
8 to 4. I can work whenever I want, basically. So, and that's what I do. And all of us do that, not just me, everyone across the state, depending on what's going on in their county. Just
That's
work.
probably one of the first things I've learned in this conversation thus far is never taken into account for, like, like a shift, what you guys actually, have to work, because of there's so much going on. I mean,
Yeah.
you just get settled into bed and all of a sudden the phone goes off. You're like, are you kidding me? I got to get back up. And, so I hate to be the guy. I hate to be the guy that's getting into trouble when you've been out, you work 12 hours running something, you just get settled in the bed. And then the phone rings from a farmer who says that he sees somebody out shining something in his field and you got to get up and go back. That guy's probably not got much luck coming when you get there. I can tell you that.
Well, we try and be fair, but sometimes that happens.
So within all of that, different things like that, Robert, what are some memorable or impactful, cases, in your 11 years of doing this that you found yourself come across?
Well, I'll give you one that happened many years ago when I first started my career. This was up in the Cook County area. I had to remove a 6-foot alligator from the basement of a house. It was a 210-pound alligator. It was, and the way I got wind of it, it was there was a repairman that was down in the basement fixing something, and he heard something and saw this alligator and called me about it. I didn't believe the guy. I thought there's no way, and come to find out, yes, there was an alligator in there. In Illinois, you cannot have an alligator. So,
What in God's name was it? Was it just some crazy thing he was going to try to sell, or what was the deal with that?
I mean, without getting into too much information, he had it more as a kind of like a pet. He had it, for quite some time,
Really?
and I felt bad, but he couldn't have it. It was, it's a dangerous species. You cannot have an alligator in Illinois. There's some states where you can. This is not one of them.
Do you get in trouble for that? Or do
believe-
you just say, buddy, this thing's got to go?
Well, that was a primary thing. We did have to go in there and confiscate it. We didn't put it down. To my knowledge, it's still around to this day.
Really?
But getting it was quite difficult. It was beyond my expertise. I had to call a herpetology expert to, that, because it was very delicate. It's in a basement, if you can imagine, and getting it out is not easy. You don't want to hurt the alligator, and you don't want to damage anything. So it was very intricate in the way it happened, but that was memorable. That was very memorable. That's
crazy. Do you find this question just popped into my head within those cases and stuff. When you hear of, and I like to use deer because that's kind of a lot of what my world is, it seems like for instance, big deer a year or so ago was killed in Fayette County. Big deer. I'm sure you probably heard about it.
Yeah.
And it seems like the minute something like that happens, you've got a couple things that I think happen. You can kind of agree, or you can kind of, clarify. You got the guy who's been hunting it's mad. He's pissed because he was hunting it and he didn't kill it. So now the guy who did kill it, he had to poach that damn thing because, whether he's mad that he didn't get it. So he's trying, and he may not have liked the guy that got it, or, whatever the case may be. But do you guys, do your ears perk up when you see things like, big deer, like killed like that, like, or does it take a call to worry about that kind of stuff? Is that something you can talk about?
Sure. I mean, I didn't deal with that specifically. I heard about it just because it was, I mean, we all heard about it, right?
Right.
We saw the pictures. Unless we get a valid complaint, we're not just going to go and knock on some guy's door just because he got a very large deer.
Gotcha.
So are we going to hear about it? Sure. Are we going to read the comments? I'm sure we are. But unless we get a valid complaint, I mean, we may check, make sure that it's all valid. If it is, There's nothing we can do. I mean,
Congratulations.
it happens,
Yeah.
right? We all shoot deer, big deer, small deer. It just depends on what we get as far as a complaint.
Here's one that I've been interested in in how you handle. How do you balance? I feel like you work in a tough world with dealing with public in the position that you have. And how do you balance like conservation laws, enforcing these laws, as well as trying to, foster a positive relationship with, the communities, or, the hunters, the fishermen of the area, or, even hell outfitters and stuff. How do you, how do you do that? How do you do that?
Well, I think I have a very easy method. I draw a very straight line. I'm friendly. I try and get to know as many landowners as possible, outfitters, meat markets, taxidermists, just a local guy who hunts and fishes all the time. And I give my card out. I ask, hey, call me with whatever you need. I'm here to help. At the same time, I'm there to do a job.
Sure.
I have a mission that I have to do, and I have to do that. And I think one thing that helps me is I'm not from the area. I'm not even from Illinois, like I said earlier. So I don't have ties to anyone specific. Do I have my wife's family members here? Sure. But I've told them over and over again, I got to treat you the same way I treat anyone else. Not that they've been bad. They're great people, but
Sure.
I have to draw that line. I will help any way I can, but there's some things that I can overlook, some things that I cannot overlook.
Let's kind of switch gears into that world of doing what you do. What are what are strategies that you have to use to combat, poaching or illegal hunting activities or fishing activities? I know I heard you say a little bit about, relying on, the public to kind of help you, but what are some other things that you have, that you do to handle this kind of stuff?
Sure. So we have, night patrols are a constant thing during the peak of the deer hunting season. I'm out there as much as I can. I also try and let local law enforcement, local sheriffs, specific towns, I give them my card and say, hey, you guys are out there way more than I am. There's more of you. Please, if you see anything, give me a call. And they really help me out. They are fantastic. I'm on a one-name basis with a lot of the Clinton County Sheriff guys. And just by sheer numbers. And I try and give my card to almost every major police department in my area. And that helps me out a lot.
Do you, I got to ask this. Do you guys have, I watch these shows on the hunting channel and stuff, the game warden shows and stuff. Do you guys have one of those, the robotic head turning deer that its ears moves and the head turns? And do you guys have one of those?
We have one.
You
No,
do?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I mean, those are some methods we use, yes. And that's just something that we need to have in our, in our back pocket to ensure that things like that don't happen. Sure. Now, I'm not going to tell you where we have them.
Sure.
But
have you yourself within these methods of trying, have you ever, because I've watched these shows on TV and I have watched people pull up and watched them video, this happening. Have you ever experienced somebody actually shooting one of these things?
I have. It was it wasn't here. It was in another county that I was working with another officer, and kind of like they show on the TV. I was almost exactly like that. I mean, we didn't film it, but sure, they shot at it. We stopped them and took care of business.
That is just I can't imagine some of the stuff that you may come across. It's got to be. It's got to be just mind-boggling, and there's some other stuff that we'll talk about later as we go through this. But,
Sure.
In your opinion, technology, like I brought up that deer, and but there's lots of the techno world we're in. Some of that's got to help you with whether you guys even use your own drones to fly over and look at things or other things. How is technology helping you in your world?
Well, to start with, we have in our trucks at all times, we have a computer that has, almost anything we want in there as far as looking people up. We can look up registrations of snowmobiles and boats and cars. And, we can look up when people have harvested a deer, so we have all that information at our fingertips, and that it helps us out to make sure that people we're talking to are telling us the truth. That helps us out a lot. Obviously, we can run people's information, find out who they are, whether they have a valid FOID license, all that stuff. We have all that at our fingertips. So that technology helps us a lot. To my knowledge, I don't have a drone. Not to say that it wouldn't help, but I don't. We don't get issued drones. I think some people think we do. Not to my knowledge. Honestly,
Gotcha.
no.
I kind of going to go another direction. I have some questions. I have some scenarios, and it's not a huge list, but I think it's some stuff that needs to be asked. I think people have these kinds of questions, and I think they're fair questions. And kind of where I wanted to start with, because it seems like I hear more and more just tailgate bullshit talking, a lot of guys, they're bringing, their sons and daughters, they start them out when they're little and they take them out hunting with them. And then their kids stay in that world, and they get to that, I want to say gray area age, because they're old enough to drive and do things on their own. And it seems like people get confused on the law of a minor. I think they lose sight of, after, they're not walking them to this and sitting next to them in the deer stand anymore. Let's kind of talk about that and the law of a minor in the hunting world, and then fishing, and let's kind of beat on different angles of that, because I think I want to cover a little bit of more than just deer hunting with that, because we're getting into spring and fishing and stuff like that. So let's talk about that a little bit with quote unquote minors.
Sure. So let's start with fishing. Fishing is a little more simple. So with fishing, I think it's when you turn 16 and onward, you need a fishing license.
Okay.
Pretty simple. 15 and below, you do not need a fishing license, but you still have to abide by all the rules as far as size limits and take, certain number of species, fish species. So that's fishing. Pretty simple. 16 and above needs a fishing license, and fishing license expire every year. So you need one every single year.
Every year.
Now, yes. So now hunting, it kind of depends on the age, what species they're hunting, and then with what platform.
Okay.
And I'll give you an example. Let's stick to deer hunting.
Okay.
As far as deer hunting, let's say a 15-year-old.
Okay.
He does not have his hunter's education course yet, but he wants to go deer hunting. Let's say he wants to go deer hunting with a firearm during the firearm season. He can go hunting. He would need an apprentice license or a youth license, and he has to be sitting with someone in direct control of him who's 21 years old with a valid hunting license and a valid FOID. That way that person is in control of that kiddo. They cannot be in separate tree stands. Direct control means right next to him. That way if something goes wrong, he can help him.
This is big, because a lot of people think that, well, I drove with him, I took him out there, he's with me, I got him. And I did not realize what did you call the apprentice, or the license was, what was it called?
It was they can get an apprentice license or a youth hunting license.
Okay. So there is actually a youth hunting license versus just a normal hunting license, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I didn't even know. Wasn't even aware of that. I thought you just buy a hunting license and that's it. But so that's interesting. So they have to be, and the age is 21, not an 18-year-old buddy. So an 18-year-old buddy can't be sitting next to a 16-year-old boy in a tree stand, right? They have to be 21?
Well,
or no?
That's the scenario I gave you was with a firearm.
Okay, with the firearm.
Correct.
So in the firearm situation, the person with the minor has to be 21, correct?
With a valid FOID and a valid hunting license.
Okay, gotcha. Now, does that person sitting there, do they have to have in their possession a legal that yeared deer permit as well, or can they be sitting there and just the child have a youth tag?
Well, again, it depends. If they're actively hunting alongside, then yes, they would need a tag.
So if they have a firearm as well, they have to, in the deer hunting world, they as well have to have a hunting of or a valid deer permit in their possession with their name on it.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct.
What about archery world?
So archery world, obviously the FOID does not come into play, but let's say it's still a youth hunter. He has an apprentice license and his own tag. The archery, the person sitting next to him has to be 18 or above
Okay.
with a valid hunting license and helping him out. Now, if he is hunting as well, he needs his own license and permit as well. Make sense?
Yeah. Is that same with, let me back to the deer thing. Is that the same with waterfowl as far as who can be with, if you have a 16-year-old minor and, you know, 3 or 4 of his buddies go to the duck blind, does somebody in that duck blind have to be 21
Correct.
that's sitting in that duck blind with the 16-year-old to be legal, correct?
Correct, because now it's back to the
firearm.
Right. Now that you said waterfowl, that introduces a whole different thing because now we're talking about stamps as well.
Gotcha. Okay.
I believe up until I think I have the under 16, you do not need a federal waterfowl stamp.
Okay.
Once you're 16, you do need that federal waterfowl stamp. So that's why I said it's kind of very platform specific and species specific. And in our book, we have an entire chart that shows everything you need depending on what age you're at, all the way from under 15 all the way to 75 plus.
Yeah, and I think that's important that you say that, Robert, because I think sometimes the young people they hear things, you know, and they think, okay, well, I don't need this, you know, but I do need that. I think that that's important because I don't think that sometimes they read, you know, they read into that like they should, or and in reality, some people, you know, some kids, and you know, whether or not they need to do their homework, I get that they do, but some of them don't have, you know, a mom or a dad that's into the hunting world, so they're not following up with them to make sure, hey, you got, you know, you got everything that you need. Oh yeah, I got it. You know, and out the door they go, and well, really they don't, you know.
Right.
So, cause I hear of guys that are, you know, some 20-year younger guys, then they got buddies that are a little bit younger than them. They're always talking, you know, I work at a school that's got apprentices. So I get younger people and I hear them talking about, you know, friends that they take, and well, you don't have to have that. So I wasn't for sure either. So that was kind of one of the reason why I asked that is I really wasn't sure either on how it lays out, and then understanding that it's actually different for what you're dealing with, whether it's firearms or.
And I will tell you this, one thing that it's not only mandatory for anyone born after 1980, but that hunter's education course, anyone born after 80 has to take that course. And that, among other things, is talked about. That is one of the things they hit over and over, the safety, the legality, and the ethics behind hunting. So, I mean, it's mandatory. I encourage everyone to take it, but it's mandatory. It's great to take it. So,
you know, I know that you've probably, I think you probably deal with or have heard of Jared Burke Foundation, being as how you're working out of Clinton County.
yes, I have.
Those guys do some great stuff. John's got a great, well, I say great story, but it's an impactful story for young people. And I agree with you wholeheartedly on anyone a younger age, even somebody getting into it later that never did, but they have kids that are getting into it, to go to those hunter safety courses and take them.
Yeah,
I think it's so important. I don't think people realize just how important it is, you know, not only for all on the law side, but just the safety aspect of everything is so huge. I don't think people realize how important those are.
Yeah, it's great. I teach a lot of those, a small portion of it. If it's happening, we all do. We all teach hunter safety, show up and talk about the ethics, you know, field questions, and I love doing those. I like talking to the public, but also just answering those questions. You know, the what ifs, the what if I have that? What if I have this? We're there to help. But it is excellent. And I think right now, if you don't take it in person, I believe it's valid if you do it online.
I was going to say, can you do that class online still?
I think you can. It's self-paced, and I think there is a cost incurred, but at the end of the day, you still get that hunter safety card. If you do it in person, I believe they have a field day. Some do, some don't, where you actually go out there and you know, they walk among the woods. They teach you how to, cross a fence line with a
Yes.
firearm, things like that. It's
Perfect.
very, very good.
Let's talk a little bit about getting in trouble. You know, and I am completely oblivious to understanding points. The world of getting in trouble with conservation is on a, and you kind of don't let me say something that I shouldn't, because I don't know, but I'm understanding that it's on a point system. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
So how does it, can you explain the point system a little bit and how it works? Because I have no idea how it works.
Sure, sure. So it all depends on the severity of the violation.
Okay.
To put it simply, if you are let me back up. So hunting, fishing, timber cutting, ginseng harvesting, and I believe I forgot the other one. There's 5, but let's take fishing and hunting. If you are, and it depends on what the violation is.
Okay.
If it's a petty offense, a class A misdemeanor, a class B, C, the petty offense is your basic offense. An example would be, let's say, you don't have a hunting license. You got everything else, but you don't have a hunting license. And I'm out there with you, and I catch you with no hunting license. Said you're deer hunting. You'll get a citation from me. 1 citation. It goes through the judicial process. You're found guilty. That you incur 3 points against your conservation privileges.
Okay.
If within 3 years you amass 12, 13 points or more, then you are suspended. And that depends on, again, the totality of all those points gathered during those 3 years, and we'll decide how long you're suspended for.
Okay.
And then there's more grievous crimes, the class A's, the class B's. I mean, they go all the way to felony, so those amass more points as you are found guilty of doing those crimes or violations. Does that make sense?
Yes. So, on the lighter end, when you say hunting license, now does that point go as I walk up to my truck, you meet me at my truck, I'm coming from the field per se, I need your, or maybe that one won't work. Well, maybe it will, because you're going to be standing there and you say, I need your hunting license. And I say, hold on, let me get it. And I had it in the dash of, or in my truck. And you see that I'm going to my truck to get it. And I didn't have it on my presence as I walked up. Is that a 3-point citation violation, or or are you saying I asked you for a hunting license and you didn't even have bought one?
Right. That's what I mean. I mean, you didn't have one at all.
Okay.
Now, the rule is, yes, you have to have it on your person.
Understand.
If you have it in your truck, I get it. You have one. That's the important part. But legally speaking, the way it's written, you have to have it on your person in the field when I come up to you and check you. So,
can you speak on, do you handle things like that in a case by case situation? Like, listen, I've never even ran into this guy before. He's never been issued. Hey, listen, don't let me catch you without your hunting license again, type of thing. Or is it well, you're supposed to have it. Do you handle that on a lot of things, kind of play into that? No more different than a speeding ticket where, how do I present myself to you, as well as, lots of things can play into that. Exactly. on how that gets handled.
I can only speak for myself.
Sure.
The way I conduct my patrols and
sure.
how I deal with the public. I take the totality of the situation, so if, let's say that example, I meet you at the truck, everything that I have checked on you is legal, everything, orange, plug shotgun, location where you're at, time of day, everything is legal, but you didn't have your hunting license on you and it was in your truck. Okay, I see it. I would probably tell you, hey, next time you got to have it with you before you leave your truck. Make sure you have all your documents, all your shells, everything legally that you need with you to hunt, and then go. Then it might give you a warning. Okay. That way it's documented. We talked about this. I give you a warning for this. I come back the next day. The same thing happens. We're going to have a different talk because I've already told you, hey, you got to have it on your person. Here we are at your truck again, and you don't have your license on you. So
Yeah.
it's the totality of the circumstance.
So I'm calling that the lighter side. And I know that your world, everything's an issue, but on the, you catch me in a field with a spotlight. What is the difference between you catch me in the field with a spotlight, knowing that what I'm doing versus knowing what I'm doing and I've shot the animal? As far as like when you said class A, Mr., felonies, and how does that play into you catch me? Now, when I say you catch me poaching, let's say you catch me out there. I haven't shot anything yet, but you catch me, you know what I'm doing. And I know that you know what I'm doing versus you know what I'm doing. And you also heard me shoot or whatever, and know that there's an animal laying there. What is those differences?
So again, the entire circumstance, so the examples you gave, okay, you're out there driving, you're shining, you actually shot and you put one down. There's a lot of violations that go there.
Okay.
That's going to be
So,
several.
those are all of those felonies.
Um,
And I'm not talking about how you're going to let me off on any of this. I'm
Right.
talking about what are they classified as?
I'd have to look.
Okay.
I know they're not petty offenses.
Right. So and that's what I'm getting at. Anytime it's something like that, we're talking major points are going on your
Absolutely. I mean, that is something that's not something
that's taken lightly.
Yeah, that's not forgetting a license in your truck. That's a little more serious. You went out that day to do that specific activity. You had the equipment, the knowledge, the opportunity, right? So that's a little more serious. That's not something I can overlook, put it that way. Now, out there shining, again, it depends. Where are you? Are you on public land? What are you doing? Not everyone who shines is shining for deer. Maybe they're looking for a lost dog. I ran into that. Now, did I interpret that as maybe they're shining? Sure. The dog comes out of the woods and okay, great. And they don't have any, they might not have a weapon on them. So it all depends on what's going on. When we look into that, we look into all that. So,
because, I think, the one thing that is hard for me to make sure that I understand is I mean, I enjoy, and I'm not trying to put myself in trouble here by no means, but I enjoy, it's 7:00. We ate dinner. We're at deer camp and we jump in the truck and we take a drive, no guns, no nothing in the vehicle, just taking a drive and looking at the deer. You come around the corner, there's a big buck standing in the field. Man, look at that one. That's right close to us. Is that, I mean, if I'm coming around a corner, there's 3 or 4 deer standing out there, big bucks with a doe. It's rut, and we're watching him. We're just looking at him. Am I in trouble for that?
so when you say you're looking at him, are you looking at him just out of your window, through the headlights of your car?
Through the headlights. I don't physically have like a big light out shining. Like my truck might be positioned where I'm looking at him in the field. Am I in trouble for that?
No.
No guns in there.
Answer.
It's not like we're just out taking a ride. Man, look at that one. And we watch him, and you happen to come around the corner and here you see a truck kind of pointed. Sure. Obviously you're going to stop because, you can see we're looking at the same thing here. Right. But am I getting in trouble for looking at that with the headlights of a vehicle?
Well, like you said, I would stop you, talk to all you and all your passengers. I would look through, make sure there's no weapons in the car, and
okay.
You're just hunters. You would tell me my camp was over there. We just decided to take a drive. I would ask you, hey, let's go to your camp. Let's say you take me to your camp. Okay, things are adding up here. So yeah, again,
case by case type of situation.
You got to take everything into account. It is not everything that I do is cut and dry. There's
sure.
a lot of gray with what I do, a lot of gray.
Gotcha.
And, I try and give the benefit of the doubt to the person. That's the way I conduct my job. Doesn't always work that way, but I take the entire thing into consideration.
Do the points go away? If I get in trouble and then it was a deal just happened. I didn't have I didn't have the deer tagged, and I had it tagged, but I didn't have it called in the right amount of time. Shit happens, whether it's right, wrong, but it happens. Right. I get in trouble for it. I get X amount of points. Do they go away, or do I carry them forever?
So let's say that scenario again. You get a no hunting license citation. You go to court, found guilty, 3 points against your license. If you stay clean for the 36 months to 3 years, then it gets wiped away. You
Start fresh.
But if you keep on getting them, they're going to amass, accumulate, and then you're going to be probably revoked. So
gotcha. And then, like you'd said, the revoke is the state decides, the DNR decides on how long we're going to revoke you for whatever the offenses were that you were
correct,
that you occurred through past. Your first one may have been a hunting license, and then you got into a little more trouble, and got into a little. They're going to say, okay, this guy ain't catch you. This guy's not learning his lesson. We're going to go ahead and we're going to penalize him for a while because he's obviously not learning his lessons.
Exactly.
Fair enough. So, fair enough. I've always heard this. Tell me if this is true or not, or how this falls. I've always heard that conservation officers have more rights than police officers. What I mean by that is you could show up at my house. This is what I've heard, and I'm not saying that you can. You tell me. Sure. You could show up at my house, say, I'm coming in. I've heard that you killed that 200-inch deer in Fayette County. We know that you killed it. I'm coming into the house. I'm also going to check your freezer. I'm going to check this. I'm going to check that. Whereas a police officer shows up, they got to have a warrant, to do all this. Is it true that you guys have more rights per se, as in what you do versus what they do?
So I don't want to say rights.
Okay.
We don't have more rights. We have a little more search authority.
Okay.
And that search authority has to be tied into a conservation offense or a suspected conservation offense. I can't just walk into your neighbor's house right now and say, open your freezer, I'm going to check it.
Okay.
I have no reason to be there. Now, if I get a complaint from you, hey, I saw my neighbor with $3 hanging in his yard and he was cutting them up and I think he has them in his freezer. And your other neighbor calls me. And then his cousin calls me.
Now we've got a case.
It's kind of building up.
Okay.
I may knock on his door and ask, hey, can I see your license? Where did you hunt? Maybe look him up on our system, see what I see on my end, see if it matches what he has. And if I further suspect, then sure, I have that authority to do that. We're careful with that authority.
Okay.
We understand. But to do our job, I'll give you a fishing example. When I check someone fishing, what do people have when they're fishing? They have coolers, they have buckets, they have stringers. I have the authority to open those up and look for fish, size the fish, touch the fish, ask them where did he get them, that kind of thing. So that's the reason we have that search authority. It kind of goes along with our job to do it properly.
Okay.
So
fair enough. Within that, kind of going with that, I've heard you can take my truck, you can take my gun, you can take whatever I have in my presence at the time of, I'm assuming depending on how bad of a crime I've committed, you have the authority to take those items directly from me. Is that correct?
Yes. The short answer is yes.
You're grinning. Is it just because you hear stuff like this all the time?
I do all the time, constantly. So yes, we do. But again, it depends on the crime, the violation.
Gotcha.
If you don't have a hunting license, I'm not taking your truck.
Right.
You and 10 of your friends are out there with your ATVs, just mowing down deers with a full auto, rifle. We're going to have a different conversation, So again, I'm joking a little here, but it depends on the severity of the crime.
And I think and I think that's the problem. I think people perceive what you guys do is everything is just so everything's the worst case scenario, and a lot of people, ask them that. I want to know, is that true? And if in those situations, you take, let's say I killed a big deer at night with a rifle. I've got a lot of shit going on here that I'm in trouble for.
Right.
Gun gets taken away. Maybe the truck gets taken away. Right. I've really screwed up big. Do I get that stuff back at any time, or am I out? Am I just out it?
Yeah. So that depends on the judicial process.
Gotcha.
We're enforcement. We catch you doing that. We determine what we work with our state's attorney to determine what we're going to write you. Yes, we might confiscate all that and put it in our evidence locker. Now, as the judicial process happens and you are found either guilty or innocent or whatever the court decides, they will decide whether they're going to give you the confiscated stuff back or if it's going to be forfeited to us. And again, I know I keep on saying this over and over, but it depends on the severity of the violation and past violations. If I catch you for the 10th time doing this, you know, it tells me you haven't learned your lesson and you probably don't need that equipment. So again, and we make recommendations, but ultimately it's up to the state's attorney and the court of that county, depending.
So a lot of stuff with the law, it kind of is no different per se than with any other kind of law. If you continue to do bad things, more bad things are going to happen to you. I mean, it's kind of cut and dry here, really. I mean, if you continue to put yourself in positions to get these kinds of things happening to you, you're going to get them happening to you.
We tend to have our freaking flyers. The guys that we know that are just for some reason they just can't help themselves. They just keep on doing bad things, and we keep on catching them, and we try our best. We can give them as many citations as possible, maybe confiscate some of their stuff, but some guys just, they don't learn. So.
Okay. I got some scenarios for you.
Sure.
And a lot of these you've probably dealt with, because I think a lot of this is common questions people have. First one I have wrote down, I shoot a deer. I just use deer a lot. It could be, sure, but I shoot a deer. Runs onto the neighbor's property. Okay. I know I hit it. I'm pretty sure I hit her. I got blood leading up to the property line. Okay. I kind of lay this out a couple ways. You can kind of answer it how you want in your world. What should I do? What can I do in the situation? And what is the law? What is the law on that? So what's the best scenario here for me as a hunter?
So what you should do is find that deer and tag it. That's number one.
Even if it's across the property line.
Well, let me back up. I mean, okay. You said I'm trying to answer your question. Okay. So what should you do is make every effort to find that deer and tag it.
Okay.
Now, we both know Illinois is not a right to retrieve state.
Okay. Yes.
And especially in the southern part of Illinois, there's lots of private land that butts up against other private land. So if I got the call, and I get this every single deer season, that exact scenario, I shot it, it went to my neighbors. I'm not just going to walk into them. The law says you have to make every reasonable effort to retrieve that deer. Now, what does that mean? To me, that means calling that landowner.
Okay.
Hey, if you know him, if you don't know him, get a hold of that landowner or someone who owns the deed of that property. Say, hey, listen, I was hunting here. I shot it and went into your property. I need to retrieve this deer. I want to tag it. I want to put my tag on it. I got good blood, try to make a case. Try and handle it at that level, the property owner to hunter to property owner level. If for some reason he doesn't let you, he says no, it doesn't become his deer. That deer is state property until it's tagged. I tell people, give me a call. Now, what I said a long time ago earlier is there's one of me.
Right.
My job is not to go retrieve deer. But what I do at that point, I contact that landowner and try and make a case. Hey, this guy has good blood. He shot it good. Maybe he can see it from the land he's hunting on. Please, can you let him get that deer? He won't gut it out there. He won't, cut down fences or trees. He just wants to get that deer, bring it back to the property he was hunting on, and then take care of it there, gutting everything. That usually does the trick. So again, the law says make every reasonable effort. What we don't want people to do is shoot one, have it run and go, well, the heck with it, I'll just keep on hunting. Because then you committed a violation there. You didn't make a reasonable effort.
Okay. So, Robert, that guy has been giving me problems since he's been my neighbor. I don't want him on my land. I don't want him near this. I don't care how big that deer is. He's not coming on here.
Yeah. What
happens then?
Well,
unfortunately, then do you have to tell him, well, then you need to go take care of it because it's on your land? Or is it just a, okay, type of thing and Mother Nature handles it?
Well, well, the first scenario, no. I don't tell him, well, you got to take care of it. No,
Okay.
it's not his deer.
Right.
He cannot go and retrieve it. It's not his deer. He didn't shoot it. Unfortunately, sometimes, yes, it just has to let lay and nature does what it does. If I can, and I have done this a couple times, I'll go and retrieve it.
Really?
I can, but again, I don't want to do that too often because I want to be good with my landowners, like I
Sure.
said, and I don't want to trespass if I don't have to. That's why I always try and talk to that landowner. Hey, please let him go in there. Maybe I can go in there with him if I'm around. Doesn't happen too often. It's only
Okay.
happened a handful of times because most of the time, a phone call from me allows it. And most of the time, I say most of the time, they have good relationships. I tell, again, going back to the hunter safety, every time I have a hunter safety, I always ask all my hunters, whether you own land or have permission to hunt land, really understand all those neighbors that touch that property, the boundaries. See if you can get their phone numbers. Talk to them beforehand even. Hey, I'm going to be here on this date. Is it okay if my deer goes over there? I'll text you. I'll send you a picture of where it's at. Get and retrieve it. I know it doesn't always happen that way, but the best pre-planning, I guess, is probably the best bet for that type of situation.
Okay. Good. I like that. Next one. I don't know how often this happens, but I've heard of this. I've heard of it through my tracking buddy. He's heard of things like this. Once again, I'm just using deer hunting world. So state of Illinois, I can harvest 2 bucks, whether it be one with a gun, one with archery, or 2 with archery. I can only have one with a gun regardless, if I'm not mistaken.
So the rule is,
or I guess muzzleloader and shotgun season, I could technically kill 2 bucks as long as I didn't kill a buck with archery, correct?
well,
Or am I misinterpreting?
kind of. So the rule is you can have 2 bucks per deer season,
Okay.
regardless of platform.
Okay.
So it's not muzzleloader, pistol, shotgun, archery. 2 bucks per season.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So I've heard of this happening. So let's say early season, October, I harvested a buck. Okay. Rut, tagged it, did everything legal. The rut comes in. I shoot the second buck. We'll use archery. I'm still in archery. Okay.
Okay.
Shoot it, hit it bad. Okay. Make every effort, to try to find this deer. And maybe even as far as even getting a tracking dog out there. We do our due diligence, just come up short, can't find it. Go back out, hunt. 2 days later, another deer comes through. I harvest it, actually kill it, tag it. So I've got my 2 bucks.
Mhm.
Okay. I legally know that. The weekend comes, the neighbors heads out to his property hunting, and walking out, here lays this buck that I'd shot, a week before. Tried to find it. It just ran out of blood, couldn't find it. He calls, says, "Hey, Bill, that buck you'd shot, I found it. It's laying over here on my place. You want it, you can have it. It's you shot it. I know you shot it. What can I do? What should I do? And what's the law? Can I have that deer? I mean, even though I've technically tagged my 2, and I did my homework, or I did what I tried, I tried to find it, just couldn't. The neighbor finds it, tells me that if I want it, I can have it. What can I do in a situation like that? What's legally can I do here?
So at that point, I would tell you to call your local game warden.
Okay.
Call one of us. Bring us in to the situation. Tell us everything. Nowadays, most guys take pictures of everything. Maybe they took pictures of the blood trail. We're going to do an investigation. Where were you? The first deer you couldn't find. What tree stand were you in? Where did you shoot it? Can I see your archery equipment? We're going to try and figure out if you're telling us the truth.
Sure.
Let's assume you do. You're telling us the truth. At that point, that deer becomes either, this is what I would do. If it's still salvageable, if it has any good meat left, I would take that and donate that to the Hunters for the Hungry program.
Okay.
Again, it depends on, you said it's been out there for a few days. It all depends, right? If it's something you want, it could become a salvage deer. you would get a salvage deer tag from one of us, and that way you would have two legally taken deer with, during the season, and then a
Right.
salvage deer, which is a whole different kind of tag that's issued from us specifically.
And could I still mount that deer with a salvage tag?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a tag. In Illinois, you either have regular tag, salvage tag, roadkill tag. So, well, I guess there's nuisance permits too, which is a whole different thing. But so, like I said before, every deer that gets shot in Illinois needs to be tagged. So it could be a salvage tag, but again, it all depends. But there probably will be some questions asked. So,
Fair enough. I mean, I think rightfully so.
yeah, and we have to figure out, okay, did you do your due diligence? We're going to call the neighbor. Hey, did he give you a call and tell you about this deer? Do you have pictures of the blood? Again, where were you? Where'd you shoot it? That kind of thing. So where's the arrow? All that kind of stuff. So
next one I have, I'm hitting you with some good ones here.
okay.
The next one I have for you is similar to that, only on the effect of, and maybe I'm going to make the phone call to you. I shoot it, and I know I hit it bad. Okay. I know I've hit this deer bad. I let it lay, trying to give it time to perspire. So I'm not pushing it or anything. I might even call it, knowing I'm going to call a tracker and say, listen, I know I hit this thing bad. It wasn't a fatal shot, a lethal shot. And I know there's a darn good chance that as we go looking for this thing, it may still be alive. I mean, I just know with it being we got an idea if it was a gut shot or, a liver shot or somewhere, it might still be alive.
Mm-hmm.
I know the law says, a lot of times those tracking guys, they like to work at night. It's a little safer for them at night versus during the day when there's people out in the woods and stuff. I mean,
right.
I know the law says I'm not supposed to, if I take my bow with me, if I call you and say, Robert, listen, here's the situation. You can even come out here. I know I've hit this thing bad. We're going to go look for it. There's a good chance this thing might still be alive. I want to put it out. I want to put it out of its misery. I'm not going out to hunt this thing in the dark. We've got blood. We're going to track it. I want to try to put this deer down if it's still alive.
Yeah.
What's your take on this?
So you're asking if you could go out there, while tracking it after legal shooting hours.
Correct. And go ahead and finish it off.
Yes.
If it's laying there, or if it's wounded bad enough that I could possibly get another shot into it,
right.
to go ahead and take it.
Personally, I wouldn't allow that.
Okay.
Because then I'd be allowing a violation to happen. I would encourage you to maybe back off a bit, last known location, come back during legal hours, and try and find it there.
That's fair.
Just because I don't want to be, I don't want that to go into the public. Hey, this game warden allows you to hunt at night, because it can be very quickly misconstrued. I know what you're trying to do, but I just wouldn't allow it, to be honest with you.
Okay. Then that's a fair answer. That's why I'm asking, because some people think, well, let's just go and we'll just put it out of its misery. And then we get back to the truck and I'm walking up with my bow and you're sitting at the truck. What are you doing with your bow out there?
Exactly.
Well, this is what's going on.
Right.
No, that's not the case.
Because technically you are hunting still. So
fair enough. What about, earlier we were talking about technology and I'd mentioned drones. And you'd laughed and said, we don't have any drones. My buddies that do track with dogs, they do not like the drone world,
the drone recovery world.
And
really? Wow.
Illinois is a state that does not allow that. No. What's your take on that?
I've seen the videos that we've all seen, and I guess, again, I got to go off with what's legal in Illinois right now. It's not legal. Now, is it a new technology? It is. I've always said this, whether it's drones or anything else, technology always moves much faster than our laws. And this is nationwide. You can ask almost any state warden. I mean, there's always the new thing, the new this, the faster this, the thing that covers your scent, all that stuff. So I think, have you seen that video where they recover a deer in Ohio? They actually pick it up. They don't just
yes.
They pick it up
with the drone.
That amazed me. That's amazing. I mean, would that be, on the surface, it's fantastic, right? Great. It finds it. You go down there, hook it up, and go. Sounds good, but the thing is, we have to do a little more research on that. So, I mean, you tell me what I thought. Right now, I think, well, it's not legal. I think as that technology progresses and we see it maybe more and more, I don't know, maybe one day they'll allow it, but right now it's just not legal. And I have to go with what's written down as law.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do I find it amazing? Sure. I'm amazed at the same thing that everyone else sees. I mean, that was crazy. I've never seen that. I've always seen it with dogs or, a party of trackers. But I think we're going to see a lot of things come get advanced more and more. Not saying it's going to be legal here, but it's going to be a more commonplace.
What about, I told a buddy of mine, every person that I have on this show, I'm going to ask them about, I love to hear people's take on, and it may not pertain to you, may not even care. These trail cameras now, cell cameras, picture gets, I mean, deer walks in front. Yeah. Immediately, picture comes to my phone, bam, I can look at it, I can see it, I can awe about it. I want to go hunt that area tomorrow, or that afternoon or whatever. I know some states have gotten to where you can have those for so long, in a season. And then as a season approached, those type of cameras have to be picked up, put away, or taken out. And some of these are like questions I'm asking. I know that you're the man of the law, but some of these are just like, what are your take on trail cameras and cell cameras? Are you okay with them? Don't really care? As a conservation officer, how do you feel about it?
I mean, again, legally speaking, they're legal. All of them. I know what you're talking about. The GPS enabled automatic cameras. I mean, again, amazing technology, right? I think, do they offer an advantage? Of course they do. You can be sitting here having dinner with your family. All of a sudden, hey, there's one out there. And you go out there, grab your stuff and go. In my opinion, this is not DNR's
sure.
opinion,
No, and I know.
Own. I think it takes the sporting aspect a little bit away from that, where you're more focused on, you're not out there anymore. Part of hunting is, especially here in the Midwest, is being out there, seeing things, wake up as the world around you wakes up, and smelling everything, and not just, I got to go quick, take a shot, down. Is it legal? Let's assume everything's legal. Sure. But you kind of took the fun out of it. Again, my opinion.
Sure. No.
Next thing you know, ATV comes up, you hunted for 15 minutes. I don't know. It's fine, but where's the excitement of trying to, lure that buck in, rattle or call it or something like that, so that's my thought on it. Now, if I had 100 acres, I'm sure I'd get those cameras too, just to see what's out there, just like everyone else.
Sure. It's the cell camera world is kind of like the archery guy and the crossbow guy. You get them together, man, and sometimes you got yourself a fist fight before the night's up. These guys, sometimes, they get into it, the crossbow guys or the archery guys don't call that, that's not archery hunting. I mean, you can really get a heated conversation over crossbows and archery equipment. Is it archery equipment? And, the cameras are the same way with a lot of people. You got some of your old school guys that don't believe in them at all. And then you got the guys that use them for inventory and, everything else. So it's just kind of I always like to ask guys their take on that kind of thing.
Something that helps me from my perspective in law enforcement is the trespassing aspect. That has helped me out a lot, because now they can show me, hey, listen, my neighbor's on my property. Here you go. He's there right now. Or he was there 15 minutes ago. I have him 10 days in a row. From that aspect, wearing this, now I think, oh, that helps me out a lot. So I'm all for it then, so depends on what I'm using it for.
You say that, and the funniest thing I can think of is some of these hunting Facebook groups that I'm a part of. There was one, you had to have seen it. I think it happened somewhere. It might've been out east or southeast. Someone had stolen somebody's cell camera, took it home, took it to their house, and had it in the house, whether they were going to go put it somewhere else, and it was still on. So you didn't see this?
No.
The guy's walking around the house. It's taking pictures of him. It can see him. It can see his family. And this guy's getting these pictures on his phone, and he's posting them. Does anybody know this guy? I mean, he stole my camera, from in the woods, and he's got it at the house, and he's walking in front of it, and you can see him plain as day. So the guy shared it on Facebook. If anybody knows this guy, tell him I'd like to have a conversation with him. He stole my camera. Wow. And it's got a picture of him like walking in front of it, looking at it, and he's oblivious. And it's just sending these pictures back to the original owner's cell phone, and he's got all this information. And I don't know if this guy didn't realize it or what was going on, or maybe it was a joke. I don't know, but it got taken down. Oh. But I don't know if they ended up catching the guy, or he got his stuff back. But
I didn't hear about that.
You didn't hear about that one?
I didn't, but that's interesting. That's what I mean. Things like that. That's great stuff for law enforcement. That's theft. I mean,
and there's your evidence of me saying, I told you he was running his side by side on my ground. Here's a picture of him. So yeah, those cameras are definitely. If you're doing wrong, they can catch you doing wrong for sure.
Yeah.
Last question I have for you, as far as that stuff goes, is. And I don't know if there's if this is true or not. This is something that I've heard, and I wanted to ask a conservation officer: does our state release, for whatever reason it may be, whether it's to help with population control? Does our state release animals, such as mountain lions or bobcats, or maybe even now we're getting into the world of bears, without telling the public, just to? Maybe it's to help, create, keep people from being scared to death to go outside, yada, yada. Do we do that in the state of Illinois?
If we do, they're not telling me.
Really?
I'm kidding. No, we don't do that. I know some people think that. I've never heard of it happening. No, not to my knowledge, honestly. I'm being serious. I know there's been sightings lately of, there was a bear a couple of years ago in the area, and wasn't there an elk this
Yeah, there was just an elk that had come through right not too far from here.
Yeah, didn't it make its way up north?
Yeah.
Those are usually tracked down to either some high fenced hunt operation, or maybe from a neighboring state. We know Kentucky has elk. The bear, I think, a couple of years ago came from Missouri, I think, from what I remember. According to someone told me it swam across the Mississippi. Again, these are just rumors, but no, we do not release non-native species to take care of the population. No, we don't do that.
Have you heard that before, though, from people?
I hear it all the time, especially with mountain lions and bears. I hear it, especially mountain lions. I've heard one gentleman told me they released pumas and jaguars, and I thought, no, sir, we don't do that.
Have you ever seen a mountain lion?
I've seen trail cam pictures. I've never actually seen one.
No.
I get that report a lot about mountain lions in Clinton County. So
with that, I mean, I didn't even have this on here, but with that being said, I think this is a valid question. If I'm sitting in my deer stand, that one of them, a mountain lion, just happens to come down through there, can I legally shoot that?
No, you cannot.
I cannot.
You cannot.
And why is that?
We have I got to look it up. It's a protected species. In the state of Illinois, not a native species, but a protected species. Also, bears, I think, fall under that category too. I'd have to look it up. I just don't know off the top of my head. But yeah, you cannot do that. No.
So for sure, no on a mountain lion. And I know that there's the only season for a bobcat is trapping, as of now, right?
There's trapping and hunting season.
So you can take them with a weapon. I thought it was just trap. So you can. No, you're probably right.
Can, yes.
It's just there's very limited amounts of tags on them. I do know that.
Yes.
Have you ever heard this with that? Now there's things just coming to me as we're talking that I've always heard as a hunter that a lot of organizations like PETA and that try to buy up all those types of permits. They fill out for them to try to limit the amount of hunters actually getting those permits. You ever heard people talk to you about that kind of stuff?
I have heard of that. They put in for the lottery, for the bobcat lottery. We have knowing whether that's true.
And they have every right, I guess, I'm assuming, as anyone else to fill out for them.
Sure. They have every right, and they can do with that tag if they draw whatever they wish. But I have heard that, yes.
I kind of wanted to end. I always try to think of things as a show goes on, and I have a newfound respect, I think, after having this conversation, for what you guys do for a living. For one, first thing that comes to mind for me is not realizing, honestly, and I know you signed up for it, don't get me wrong, but the hours and the range of, the 9 to 5 guy, just I have respect for that, for the fact that you're on call all the time, and I appreciate that, having taken on a role like that, knowing that it's not a 9 to 5 type of job,
Right.
I didn't realize that. I thought maybe you worked one week days, and if you get into a certain type of season, you work nights, just because it's more time for, more issues, come around. So that was something that I learned from this.
Good.
I also, I kind of, I think people, you just know different than, we talked about this a little bit before we went on air here. Um, I think I think your world sometimes gets bad face, because you're always, a lot of times you're the ones, writing me a ticket for something, no different than law enforcement.
Right.
But I think that we as true hunters and fishermen, in this world, I don't think that we would like a Wild West like we think we would. Um, and I really mean that, because I think that, you know, no more than what I'm doing right or wrong, if everybody just does wrong, I mean, if my goal is to go out and hunt big deer, because that's what I enjoy doing, but it's a Wild West world, then things are getting killed all the time. And the opportunity for me to get one of those is now limited, because it's the Wild West,
Exactly.
and I think we lose sight sometimes as hunters and outdoorsmen on really what the goal is and why your job is what it is. I think we focus more on the why am I in trouble versus what you're really out there trying to do. And I think sometimes we forget that, yeah, we screwed up, no different than a speeding ticket. You guys are human, we're human, we do make mistakes. You guys understand that. Hey, depending on the severity of the mistake is how we're going to handle this,
Right.
and um, I think that it's a good thing that you do. I think that I think all the way down to the hunter safety stuff is huge, and presence in that, and, teaching people the right, and, and having, doing things like what we're doing here with people having questions about, and not being afraid to ask them,
Reach
be
out.
and approachable, I was a little nervous at first to have, making this call and having you come over and stuff, like, am I going to be on his radar now that I got him here and I'm asking all these questions? But I
That's
think
right.
it's real, and I think that we need to sometimes remember what your job really is and what you're trying to do. And that's not only, we're protecting what we love to do. And I think we need to sometimes step back and look at that and say, they're actually helping us, whether we get in trouble or not, they're still helping us.
Right.
So I want to tell you, I appreciate that.
I've never heard it put quite that way. I thank you for that. I appreciate that. You're right. When people see me, they kind of, they're kind of standoffish. I understand. I hunt too. I'm a hunter too. I get checked. I mostly hunt out of state. I've run into game wardens, and believe me, I have that same like, oh man, now what do I do? He's coming towards me. Start reaching for your wallet, right? I have that same feeling. So I get it, but like you said, I want everyone to know that I'm there to help. I want people in the outdoors. I want them hunting, fishing, camping, hiking, recreational shooting. I just want them to do it safely, ethically, and legally. And that's what I'm here for. Like you said, all our phone numbers, they're published. Our emails are published. Our names are published. What county we're assigned to. You can call us. I welcome the calls. Again, I want you to do it because I know our laws are they change every year. They're convoluted, so we're there to help. And if we can't, we don't have the answer, we will find you that answer. So we encourage everyone, please give us a call.
And I want to just share to people, if you do have problems or issues, you can get, I mean, that's how I found um, Robert's phone number. I mean, you can go to the DNR's website. You can find a list of who your officer is in your county. like he just said, his cell phone number is there, his email address is there. If you have problems and stuff, it's easy, accessible, and I appreciate the time you've spent with us. I know we're catching you coming into your hunt or your fishing season, so
Yeah.
but I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming on, and I just want you to know that I'm glad we did this, and I hope people learn from this. So thank you, Robert, for coming on. Those of you listening, thanks for watching, and we'll get this thing out to everybody here as soon as possible. And I appreciate it, Robert. Thanks again.
See you guys in the field.